What's up, guys? It's Wolf from the Quarantine, and today we're going to take a look at a Kickstarter game called Crazier Camelot from Rococulus. Now, Crazier Camelot is a game that is currently seeking, or will currently be seeking, Kickstarter funding. I will have a link to it up here, and it will take you directly to the Kickstarter page when it's available, and it'll give you way more information than I can cover here. Now, Crazier Camelot is a game that plays 2 to 4 players. It plays in about 30 minutes, and it says on the box if age 13 plus. Honestly, my 9-year-old daughter played it and had absolutely no problem. Basically, as long as you have basic reading comprehension, you should be able to play. Now, Crazier 8's, the best way I've figured out to explain Crazier 8 is if you take Uno, which I can't stand Uno. If you take Uno, you slap a Camelot Knights of the Round Table theme to it and make it a gamier version of Uno, then you have Crazier 8s. So let's just go straight over to how the game's played.
Alright, I do need to first start off by saying that this is a review, it is not a tutorial. So if I accidentally skip some rules or if I gloss over some entirely, this video should still give you a good idea of whether or not the game is for you. The other thing I need to state is that this is a Kickstarter prototype, so everything you see here is, of course, subject to change. So, to start a game of Crazier 8, you're going to take the deck, you're going to shuffle it up, put it in the middle of the table, and then each player is going to draw a hand of 7 cards. Then, you will take the top card and flip it over, forming the discard pile. And then you're going to figure out who's going to go first. And once you've determined who goes first, every turn, you must draw a single card from the deck. And I will get in a little more detail otherwise, but unless something says that you do not. But you're going to draw your one card, and then you may discard a card, and you may play a card. So when it comes to discarding cards, you want to look similar to something like Uno. You're going to look at the discard pile. So this has the number 9, and it has an orange circle. The text box also matches the color of the circle. The little symbol in there is for the colorblind players. That way you match the stars, or like in this case you match the star, this case you match the ankh, so on and so forth. That way, if you're colorblind, it's not that big of a deal. But anyways, so you'll match that, or the color or the number. And when you play a card, you have events, and you have assets. And the way it works is events you would play, they just immediately happen, and then they go to the bottom of the discard pile. Now what we do is we put them face down next to the discard pile, and I'll explain why in a moment. But that's how you play a card. If you play an asset, you play it and it sits in front of you face up, and that's now just a power that you get to have every round. So for example, the Wood Elf right here, it says at the beginning of your turn, look at the top 2 cards of the draw pile, put them back on top in any order, and the rest on the bottom. So that's pretty cool. And like I have another one here, Thin Ice. Whenever a player controls 4 more cards at the end of his or her turn, that player loses the game. And so you have all these cool abilities. And then events are just a little one-shot, you're going to draw a bunch of cards, stuff like that. They do really cool things. Now, there's a color that I didn't mention, is the 8s. 8s are always a wild. They're a black circle, and they have the number 8, and they have, I'm not 100% sure about the symbol in there, but, like this one has a sun. I guess it's a wild for each suit, but whatever. This is a wild card, and it counts as any color. So I could drop this down here and go, alright, the color is now blue. So then the next player, if he wants to discard a card, they have to discard a blue card. Alright, so with my example here, I may go, I'm going to discard Excalibur, which is really stupid, but for the sake of, because that's a 9, and so is this, I'm going to discard Excalibur, and then I'm going to play Pleasant Memories. So Pleasant Memories, so I get to choose up to 2 players. Those players draw 2 cards. So that's pretty sweet. So I'm going to go, boom, you're going to get this. And the reason we always put the discard pile face down here is because as people are playing cards and whatnot, they're putting them all right here. And sometimes you'll get cards that'll say, look through the discard pile to get something. Because these are technically on the bottom of the discard pile, it allows you to pick up this and just, boom, put it right there. That way, for us, it was just a lot simpler. But other than that, the game is just going to go around and around and around, and some cards allow you to steal other people's assets. Some people allow you to not draw a card or get to discard more cards at the end of your turn, and all kinds of crazy things. And your ultimate goal is to get run out of all your cards. Once you play your last card, you win. Now, there's nothing stupid like Uno, where you have to shout, Uno! But that's basically how the game plays. So let's just go straight over to my final thoughts, shall we?
Alright, Crazier 8s. Well, I'm going to start off by saying that I hate the game Uno with a passion. I find it a very dull, very boring game. It's not fun at all, and it's more of an activity, in my opinion, than it is a game. However, Crazier 8s is almost the exact same thing, with the exception that every card has a special ability on it, which the amount of difference that makes is staggering. Because where you draw one card at the beginning of your turn, and then you may essentially lose 2 cards. You discard one and play one. And by doing that, you're at a net -1. So you're slowly going to be dwindling your hand down. But maybe the only card you can discard has a super good ability on it that you really want to hold on to for later. So do you discard it to go ahead and get that net -1 to your hand? Or do you hold on to it, getting no minuses essentially, because you're getting a card and you're playing a card, so you're not losing anything. So it winds up becoming this constant struggle of like these really cool abilities, but you gotta get rid of cards. And then the fact that you can get these assets that get played in front of you, and they're just constant abilities that just are always in play, that allow you to, everybody else just draws a card on your turn. And I get to look at your hand and take any card out of it that I want, or any asset on the field, I could just take it. Or destroy, at the end of every person's turn, they have to destroy an asset somewhere on the table, except for like one. I think it's called the Bridge Troll or something. And there's just so many awesome abilities, so it winds up being this constant struggle of trying to get rid of your cards, but trying to keep these super powerful abilities. And it's outstanding. I cannot recommend this game enough. If you hate Uno, this game is the game for you. Great little filler game. Now, the publisher, or the developer, did give me 2 expansions. I can't remember what they're called. One of them is called The Valley of the Nile. It's an Egyptian-themed expansion that has stuff like this. And then I have another one here called the Eternity expansion, which is space. So we'll start with the Egyptian-themed one. The Egyptian-themed one works fairly well. Both of these expansions, you just shuffle them into the deck and just start playing. That's all you do. And, for example, the Egyptian-themed deck adds these dual cards to it, which is pretty cool. You choose which one of the 2 that you're going to activate, and then it counts as both colors in terms of when somebody's going to discard a card. So it worked pretty well. The theme kind of clashes, and it adds a little bit more complexity to the game, which we didn't care much for. We liked just how simple the game was, but it does fit right into the base game just fine. Now, the space one. Anybody who's watched my channel and has seen some of my reviews, I'm a sucker for anything space. So I was pretty hyped about this one, even though I kind of looked over that the theme of this really clashes with the Knights of Camelot. But whatever, that's fine. So we started playing, and this one adds some new keywords, like, things can't be destroyed and stuff like that. Every one of these space cards are so insanely powerful, it was not very fun at all, unfortunately. Like, it changed the entire dynamic of the game and made it way more complex and way longer. We had a game when we shuffled all this together. The game lasted almost an hour. It winds up being really convoluted and a lot more complex because, you may like that. Because now you're having to, that this guy's got, the galaxy, and it can't be destroyed. So you're just digging through the deck, essentially, trying to find a card that'll bounce it back up into his hand so you can make him discard it, because if you don't, he's going to win, or all kinds of crazy things. So you may like something like that, but it really breaks the dynamic of the game, in our opinion. Everybody that tried it with the space expansion, even with just the space one, it really breaks what makes Crazier 8s really fun. It just kind of ruins that. So I can't really recommend the Galaxy expansion, but the Nile one works really well, the Egypt-themed one. And now, why am I talking about those expansions when I didn't even show them in the How to Play? Well, two reasons. One, you just shuffle them in. It's only like 15 cards per expansion, something like that. You just shuffle them into the deck and start playing. The other thing being, if I'm not mistaken, the designer had mentioned when he goes to Kickstarter, they're either going to be the stretch goals, or they're going to be expansions. I don't remember which one. So I figure I'll explain what our experience was for both of them. So my final verdict, I highly recommend Crazier 8. It is an insanely fun game, plays in like 30 minutes, great little filler game, and I can foresee us playing that for quite some time. We'll be probably pulling this one out for a long time. Anyways, if you like the game here, check them out on Kickstarter up here. I also have my Patreon that is up here. Any support definitely is appreciated. Anyways, that is my review, and I will see you guys next time in the quarantine.